Kia ora and welcome to this week's video newsletter. We've got such a positive response to meeting with Marty Vaughan last week that we thought we'd better move on and look at some of the other people that are retiring after long connection with Wellington College. So Neville, my understanding is you and I started Wellington College on the same day, 1986. I was in third form and you were a beginning teacher.
That's right,
yeah.
And I think Mr. Ashby started at the same time as well.
Right. Yeah, amazing. Now, as we were coming down here to do this, you told me that you'd actually got a phone call this morning from a former student, a former athlete that you've worked with. Who was that?
Yeah, that was Tim Prendergast, and he was a visually impaired runner and came here, and he just trained with the cross-country team in athletics, and his disability was never really
an issue.
Yes, we never accounted for it. He just ran with the other runners and trained. And in fact, in those days, the secondary school sports, he had to run with the able-bodied runners, whereas now there's a separate.
But he did really well.
Yes, he did really well, and he went to 3 Paralympics, and he got he achieved 3 medals. He got a gold medal and 2 silvers in Australia and 1 gold in Greece. So he was the captain of the Paralympic team at Beijing, but didn't perform that well for various reasons I won't go into.
So you must have coached hundreds and hundreds of people over those 30 years in a range of things, like big events like cross country, nationals, McKevity Shield obviously is always a highlight, but also you did heaps of individual work with athletes and continued working with some of these people even when they left school.
Yes, that's right. And you have to, what I realised, you have to make the good runners better, because that pulls up the average runners, because they're looking up to those guys, and you're setting sort of the standards that they're going to try to achieve. And so we've always had, now it's something I've heard from other teachers, when you come to Wellington College, there's always a group of students that get behind you. They've got a lot of energy. And when I say I've witnessed this with running and cross country, but it's whatever you want to start up. If, like, one year I had a tractor club, and suddenly I called a meeting, and I had 60 students in the room wanting to join tractor club. There was nothing to it, but anyway, and that's what I've appreciated about the school. There's a lot of energy here. It's like a giant river, and you jump in and you just go with the current, and that's something I've appreciated ever since I've been here.
Are there particular highlights in the extracurricular thing? Is it possible to identify some great moments? Like, one thing I was thinking of you is you actually took a cross country team to North America at one stage, eh?
Yes, that was quite interesting, because I actually didn't know what I was doing at the time, because I was the only teacher. I had 37 students, but I had another 3 parents, and one of them was particularly good. He'd been a New Zealand champion boxer, and he was very good on the trip. And we actually stayed on an Indian reservation in New Mexico, and we were hosted totally, 37 students hosted by the staff of that college, because the Indians were so poor they couldn't cope with having an extra mouth to feed for a night. And the thing that sort of stood out to me on that trip was going on a boat from Seattle to Victoria on Vancouver Island. All our boys had to travel in number 1s, so they were in the blazer and everything, and people on the boat kept coming up thinking they were working on the boat, ordering food and stuff like that. And I spoke to a military guy there from the American military, and he asked me about the school, why are they dressed like that, and I told him how, we have standards, we look for excellence, and we go for academic study and good sporting achievements. And he says, why aren't we doing that over here? And I said, well, I can't answer that.
Hey, our time's almost up, but, there've been so many people that you have worked with that have performed at different levels. And I just know that the old boys and the current students are really going to miss you not being part of this community. So for all of us, and even I was a very weak runner in your cross-country team at one stage.
You weren't too bad.
Well, from all of us that have benefited from your input, thanks so much, and we just wish you well as you move to this next phase to the South Island.
Well, I'd like to thank Wellington College for having a platform that allows me to do this, and I understand it's not there in all schools, and a school like this that encourages that was, that's why I stayed so long, because of the nature and the environment of the school and the culture in the school.
Awesome. Thanks, Neville. That's us. Have a great weekend, everyone. Goodbye.